Cool. Mahesh, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Kia ora.
Thanks for jumping on. I was really keen to start off this podcast and this episode around where you found your why, because you're somebody who has had a whole range of different experiences from right across the world, worked in some of the biggest tech companies on the planet now, and have a really key role in helping new startups and entrepreneurs, I guess, find their why as well. So I wanted to sort of flip that question onto your head. And was there a moment, and when was that moment when you first discovered your why?
What a great way to kick this off. I really appreciate that. I haven't really thought about it too much, like when I got it, but I've always had a very deep sense of my why. So in Indian scripture, I grew up reading a lot of comic books and like these Indian mythological comic books, and they talk a lot about what's your purpose in life, right? So this is, imagine this, there's so many Indian kids from the age of like 3 to 4 till they're 20, they're reading all these comic books which are constantly like questioning your why. So I got brought up in that, and my dad told me when I was really young, I asked him, hey, why'd you have me? Right?
It's a big question.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fair question, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're going through all kinds of stuff as a kid, and you're like, hey, what's the point here, man? And he said, your job is to make the world better than I've left it. And that was so clear, right? Outside of that, I saw kids who looked like me break rocks for a living whenever I went back to India. And my mum made sure that I understood gratitude. So I always know that there are so many people who are worse off than I am. So then that gives me a grounding in regards to you have a responsibility you're so lucky for what you have. So your duty is to make things better for all of those people who don't have the same opportunities as you. So
that's lovely, man. And that's such a massive question off the cuff of the podcast, but what an amazing response there. Very similar, I think, when I think and reflect back when I was a young fella. And I remember one of the first times my mum got me to collect up all of the old toys, which I never used.
Yeah.
And I think it was around gratitude as well. She was, she made me give out a whole bunch of toys that I still loved, even though I didn't play with them. And I think we dropped them off to the Salvation Army. And that sort of just made me realize, oh shit, like you really check your own sort of privilege in that space, and to realize that other 5-year-old boys in New Zealand don't have the Spider-Man action figure that I have, and don't get any toys for things like Christmas as well. So yeah, what a crucial role that our parents play throughout those times.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest gifts I think parents and mentors can give children and youth growing up, is that framework around gratitude, because it becomes such a source of energy, battery around, okay, I'm doing it tough right now, but man, some other people are doing it harder. And you know what it is? It is, you don't actually want to be in their position, right? Because there's an empathetic connection to another human being, and you're like, okay, I gotta step up, because then hopefully that helps somebody else step up as well. So
totally. And going back into your story as well, so you were born in India, you were raised in Singapore, and then I read that you moved to New Zealand by yourself at the age of 14.
That's right.
How does that work as a 14-year-old going to New Zealand all by himself?
So my parents moved to Singapore in 1982. I was 2 years old. Childhood in Singapore. During the Lee Kuan Yew years, phenomenal leader, made a 60K, 40K little island, which was a swampland, into the highest capita per square meter in the world now. Incredible leader. So I grew up, my childhood was there. But Singapore can be a bit claustrophobic because it's got nothing other than human capital, so rules have to be followed, etc. So when the Ministry of Education New Zealand came over to Singapore to do like a high school roadshow, my parents went for it, I went for it, and I'm checking out all these pamphlets, and these pamphlets are full of like bright lush grass and kids playing footy, and there's like second 11s and third 11s. What's going on here? and as a 14-year-old, you see pictures of like pretty girls, and you're like, hey, this sounds really good.
Paradise.
And yeah, I know, exactly. So, and the Napier Boys High School said, hey, do you want a scholarship and come over? And my dad said yes. And I'm not kidding. It took me less than an hour to go, yeah, I'm doing this. Let's go.
Far out.
Yeah. Easy decision.
And what happens when you first come into New Zealand as well? Are you in like a boarding school arrangement? Do you have any family here?
Yeah, no, I don't. So my dad came, they came, checked it out.
Yep.
They're like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then there was a Fiji Indian family who is a teacher in Napier Boys High School, Mahendra Prasad and Sarla Prasad. And they said, hey, we'd love to have him homestay. And I think my parents probably felt comfortable that, hey, there was somebody with an Asian background as well.
Yep.
And he's in school premises. So I stayed with them.
Mm-hmm.
But man, the first 2 weeks as a 14-year-old coming straight into sixth form in Napier Boys High School, very different from Singapore. I remember in the first 2 weeks walking around, picking up New Zealand vernacular and going, am I a bogan? I don't understand. Like everyone's saying, what is this? So yeah, steep learning curve.
I bet, totally. No, you've definitely got some weird slang that just doesn't really make sense. I remember I first met a whole bunch of Canadians and I said the term sweet as.
Yeah.
And they were like, finish the sentence, dude. Sweet as what? Sweet as sugar? I was like, it's just sweet as. And then you really think about it. You're like, what are we even saying?
Oh, everybody's got it, right? So we've got our own stuff. So
yeah, it's super interesting. Yeah. And so then you you finish your high school at Napier Boys, and then you go and study, was it at Auckland University?
University of Auckland.
Yeah.
My best year of my life. Favorite year of my life. First year, University of Auckland. O'Rourke Hall of Residence. It used to be the place where supposedly all the smart kids went to, but now I hear it's a bit more of a party hall of residence. And I remember I hadn't drunk much beer. Second week, first week, all week, and we had a sculling competition. Yeah. And it was Guinness, and so I open-throated, and everyone's cheering me on, and then like literally 2 minutes later, I'm throwing up on the side.
Oh no!
Yeah, good times, man.
Wake up in a bathroom somewhere.
Yeah. Good times. First, that first year of university, to date, I feel is my favorite year of my whole life.
True.
It just is an O'Rourke Hall of Residence, just explosion of freedom, different ideas, speaking to people, making mates. It was just so good.
Yeah. And after your studies, you head over to Robert Walters to recruitment in Tokyo as a 24-year-old, which is that is a massive opportunity for someone who's 24 to be based overseas in a place like Tokyo. When did you first start to get the bug of, I guess, entrepreneurship? Because you've had that, I guess, after college, so after university, you've had a bit more of like sort of corporate background. When did you get that bite to have a look into entrepreneurship?
Great question. I think I've always been entrepreneurial because you started off this interview asking me my why. I'm somebody who needs to do things that are purposeful. I don't operate well with standard stuff. I need to know why I'm doing it. So I think the corporate sector was good. I mean, Robert Walters is a sales environment, recruitment sales. So at least it was clear, targets are clear. Yep. But invariably, I got to a point where I think, especially when the global financial crisis hit, I was 30 years old and it wrecked me. I've been on fire, I've been divorced, a whole bunch of different things. But the global financial crisis was the single biggest thing that affected my whole life, because when that happened, I felt society went, hey, we don't really need you, because I got made redundant. At which point I did the MBA and learned about how the world worked and an economy worked. So I was like, okay, I need to go deliver core value. Like I need to, you're delivering core value, right? Like you're doing something for a customer base and you're making something from ground zero. And when you do that, you have an opportunity to feel even more secure, even more sovereign in a way. And you have a customer you speak to, you can solve problems. So I think that's when it's always been there. But when the GFC happened, I was like, hey, what am I doing here? Like, what's the point of all of this, right? So that's when the entrepreneurial streak really took off.
True. Yeah, it's so interesting, eh? It's almost like, in a way, society's like reflecting a mirror, and a harsh mirror. And also, what society values as a meaningful job as well. You know what I mean? So there's groundskeepers and toilet cleaners and, you know, service workers, and without them, we don't have a functioning society. And so I think especially for some of those roles where you're playing like an intermediary around sales and placing people into certain positions, so you kind of had this existential crisis around like, what is the value that I can provide as a human?
100%. I remember so clearly thinking, maybe I need to start busking, right? This is at 30, right? Like, what am I doing here? Like, there's a doctor out there healing people.
Yeah.
What is my connection to society? So and I'm very thankful that I addressed that question head on, and because of where I've landed and the experiences that I've picked up.
So what's the next step after having that realization that, you know, you need to almost develop, in a way, a new skill or pave a new pathway for you to succeed in, you know, in terms of a really harsh way to put it?
Yeah, you put yourself out there, right? So it was when startups were becoming a thing,
right?
And this is important to me. The technical definition of a startup is something that aims to grow 5% week on week, right? Because you make a love product, you put it on the internet, bang, cost of distribution next to zero, it goes berserk, right? But the key to what I just said is that love product. Very few startup founders build a loved product. They have ideas and notions, but they don't like really get the customer problem. Anyway, I think I was like, okay, let's go. And I remember those first few days, right? Like, ooh, can I do this? And then you start like playing around with the idea. Then you put up a website and you have no clue what you're doing, but you just start doing more and more and more. And you start believing some of your own like BS, and you're like, okay, I can go do this, right? Which is important. It's really important. And I wasn't successful with my own startup, but then I was fortunate to be invited by the Canva crew to be one of the first leaders. And very few people get to be inside that kind of black box and see the blitz scale growth of like an incredibly powerful tech business.
That is what a crazy story. Just the growth of Canva, recently evaluated at $39 billion. It's absolutely incredible. So where did your relationship with Canva first start?
I was hustling in Sydney. This is like 10, 12 years ago. The Sydney startup scene was nascent. I became a little bit famous for how hard I hustled. Like, to get Uber, who had just launched Sydney, onto our platform, all I could afford was small 3-piece packet Tim Tams. So I took those Tim Tams that I had, like, and every day went to the Uber office and left them like a little sales pitch and a Tim Tam set.
Like written in a note?
Yeah.
I didn't know you could get three Tim Tams in a packet.
Yeah, you can. I mean, when you're on budget, you find these things, right? And then at the end of the week, the Uber country manager just called me and said, "Who are you? What do you want?" "Fine, we'll use your product. Just don't come here again." Something like that, right? Anyway, people started hearing about how hard I was hustling.
Right.
And then the Canva founders heard about it. And I'd actually pitched my product to them. And Cliff, who's a multi-billionaire now, I think he saw someone who was hungry, who was keen, and just wanted to make a difference. And he said, "Come on board." And I mean, he put me through my paces, and then I came on board, and that's actually how. And I was number 25, and now the company's like 4,000 people.
That is crazy.
It is.
And when you first, like, where was Canva when you first joined them? Like, where were they strategically in figuring out their product?
Yeah, great. I think they already had product market fit, which is the key term for something that's going nuts. But they were worth about 20 mil. True. So still, early days. It's really important to share this. When I met Melanie Perkins, she was 23. She started on this journey when she was 18. Right? There was an original business called Fusion Books, which was designed for high school yearbooks. So she had spent 5 years on the customer and the problem on how to design things online, even though it was yearbooks. And in that 5 years of penance, she had built up a really deep understanding of the customer, the problem, a vision. So my success and so many other people's success is built on the penance and servitude she put in regards to the clarity of the customer. And I remember, man, like I have big ideas sometimes, and we're 20 people in a small room, and she has a whiteboard, and she starts drawing like buildings and like a campus, and I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, this is going to be the Canva campus. We're 20 people. And there's going to be a building which is just for Canva, Canva web, Canva print, Canva t-shirts, Canva. And I'm like, holy cow, like you're thinking so big. And today at $1 billion in the bank and $2 billion in revenue, I'm like, you can do whatever you want, right?
It's super like those. It's almost like Malcolm Gladwell's book Outliers. If you've seen that, but what do you think are those like star traits or qualities within, it's Melanie, right?
Yeah.
Within Melanie's personality or leadership style that has taken her to where she is today? Like what makes her stand out against Joe Blogs, another tech sort of startup?
Great question. So a few things. You know your personal why. And I'm not talking about your company's why, right? Your personal why. Like Mel wants to make a huge difference in the world. She feels that the world isn't right in a certain way. So she wants to create value through charities, through hospitals, and all of that, right? And Canva offers an opportunity for her to accrue a certain amount of value, and which is why they donated, I think, like $16 billion 2 years ago, right? And so when I have a conversation with a Kiwi founder, I ask them, what is your personal why? Because you can actually accrue a lot of capital and power and whatever, and then you can go build schools. You can go give back to your iwi. You can do so much. What is that personal glitch, right, inside of you? So having that story is important because that's the thing which carries you through. That's number one. Number two is customer obsession. You've got to be obsessed about a customer and a problem. You got to do hundreds, 200s, 1,000 interviews, right? And really, and not sell a product, but listen to their story. They have to become your people. Like, you know, and when an investor or someone else asks you a question, you get to a point where you go, no. This is my people. These are my customers. I know my customers. And then you form a view of the market. You do those things. Like a lot of people talk about how you need money early on. No. Do the time. Like go, because that's actually where value seeds. The value starts in the question of how you doing? How are you? What's going on? And someone gives you an answer. And then, okay. So value's starting to get created. Now, if you keep asking that many, many times, a thesis starts to form on, I get your problems. Like it's not my idea of what you're saying. I'm actually listening to you. So
I love that. And I just find it so interesting around individuals who decide to take that leap to start up something, whether, you know, it's a business or to do something sort of against the grain. And I feel like that's what I'm trying to sort of shine a bit more of a spotlight on through the platform we have at Beyond the Surface on the podcast. Within Canva as well, did you find, because obviously in the startup world, there's a big culture on the grind, right? It's really long hours. You're kind of building the airplane while you're flying it. What was your relationship like with burnout, I guess, as you're working with these tech startups?
So it's interesting, right? So there's an opinion, and I'm not super sophisticated on this, but there's an opinion that you suffer burnout, especially when you don't enjoy what you're doing, when you don't feel like you're winning. But if you're in flow and if you're in rhythm, you just keep going.
True.
Because you're like mentally stimulated, you're in a good place, you're going, right? So this is my opinion. I'm not super sophisticated on this, that burnout especially happens if you're pushing so hard, but you're not winning as well.
Right. Not getting those gains.
Correct. Right. The results. You're not getting past the line. So then there's two things you need to do there, right? Do you need to play a different game? Do you need to change the game? And do you need to ease back? So both of those things. And I think the bigger piece is, are you playing the right game? Right? What do you need to change? Maybe you don't understand what's happening around you and you're pushing against something, but you actually need to do it a bit differently for you to start winning. Right? In my opinion, the single most important thing for a happy company and a great culture, I get asked because I was the first head of people at Canva, is you got to win.
Mm.
Every family, every whānau, every group, everyone's got issues. Everybody's got stuff. You put a bunch of people together, they got stuff. But if you're winning, everything's easier because you're all heading in a good direction. You feel safe, you feel secure, you feel like you're growing.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, totally. I never really thought of it like that. And I'm just thinking on the times where I felt burnt out, and it is you're stressed, you're probably not making the sort of progress you're wanting to. Yeah, that makes really good sense. I guess there's also with like founders and business owners, you have to have this sense of vulnerability and awareness around when things aren't necessarily going right. So I'd be really keen to hear your experience from working with different founders, especially in the context of New Zealand. What are some of those common mistakes that Kiwi founders make in relation to scaling their business?
Yeah, so they don't think through their why. They don't realize that, they have to hit the US pretty fast. If you're B2B, like a business startup, you got to go pretty fast. And New Zealand could do better, and it's what Phase 1 did, of building communities, right? Because it's lonely, it's hard, and you feel like nobody gets you, nobody understands. What are you doing for work? Oh, well, I'm doing this thing. Oh, what's that? And then you feel like, oh, am I being judged? And you don't get the gains early on, right? So nobody gets you. But if you have a community of founders and entrepreneurs kind of pushing, that makes a huge difference straight away, right? You feel less lonely. You feel you feel sorted. The other thing New Zealand founders need to know, and again, I'm very thankful for the Phase 1 founders. You can go big. Go big. Do what you can change the world. I'm a Kiwi, went to Napier Boys and University of Auckland, and I was in a room with 20 people, worth 20 million, and recently it was valued at 40 bill.
Crazy.
Right? It's my story. I when I go and lecture in University of Auckland, I was right there. Right? So I'm no different to you. One other thing is, by the way, building a unicorn or $1 billion business is not cool. Doing what you really want is cool, right? The size doesn't make a big difference, but you can build a $10 million business. You can build a $100 million business. I respect all entrepreneurs. The guy running the dairy store, everybody. You're taking a punt by yourself, for your family. Good on you.
Yeah, it's super important. I think I heard a presentation that you did, and I think your phrase was pick your game or something. And you specified you can launch something big in the New Zealand context, but there's so many limitations which are innately Kiwi around the sort of barriers that we put ourselves on. And I think that comes down to almost how we like to speak about our successes as well. We got a culture of, if you say, yeah, cool, I'm launching this new startup, this is what we're going to do, we're going to try and solve the world, you do get judged. People frown upon that. People almost want to pull you down because they wish they probably had the confidence to say that, but for whatever reason, they're confronted by the perception of others. So how have you seen, I guess, different Kiwis navigate the complexity of tall poppy syndrome?
Yeah, and thanks for bringing this up. And I've thought a lot about this. I trust the world. I trust human beings. So then when I think about why is this happening, I think we are proud about the fact that we don't like to see inequity. Kiwis don't like inequity. Kiwis kind of want everybody to have equal access. We want people to be same. That's really important to us. And it makes sense. We were two islands, flush with resources.
North and south,
Simple right? Names. Yeah. and we were just we had this opportunity of building this incredible egalitarian society, right? So that's somewhere deep down inside, that's our core. So I can see why then if someone creates tension by stretching that, seeming to stretch that inequity, you're whoa. But we're supposed to be all the same. The plumber, the CEO goes for a beer, we're all equal. You know, it's
Yeah,
part of
true.
our core, right?
Yeah.
But we're the other side of that coin is we're playing a global game, right? It's our country, and we need to create value. And if we don't push, we get left behind. And as a country, we need to get that, and we are not at the levels we need to be. So the thing I tell Kiwi founders is go hang out with other people that are pushing.
True.
Yeah, just hang, like you are the 5 or 8 people you hang out with, right? So go find. If you don't do that, you are putting a hard limiter on yourself, and do whatever you want, but let's make the decision conscious. Right?
In terms of like mental health as well for different Kiwi founders, I'd love to get your take on, I guess, how we could best support entrepreneurs and business owners. I read a statistic recently that over 72% of overseas founders felt like running a startup had negatively impacted their mental health, and 37% reported feelings of anxiety, 36% had experienced burnout, and 13% had depression. So we've got like a bit of an epidemic when it comes to the mental health crisis. That word probably gets thrown around too much, but especially within founders who feel very isolated. I think as well, you know, a tragic sort of story and example to bring up is probably the one of Jake Miller from Unfiltered. And I guess the circumstances that you know led him to feel the way that he did, and eventually end up taking his own life. And I just wonder what else can be done, because there is that acceptance to the grind and sort of burnout, and it is almost accepted in a weird way, because you've got to do the work to get it done. But do you have any learnings from the work that you've had with founders through mentorship around how you can prioritize your well-being?
Sure. I don't think the grind's the issue, right? It's when founders in New Zealand are trying to play a global game, but they don't really understand that they're playing a global game. Then they don't have mentors or other people who've played that global game.
Yeah, right.
So suddenly there's tension around, oh, you should do this. But wait, you can go do this. So it's like someone in NPC suddenly playing Super Rugby.
True.
Right? And suddenly you have an NPC coach, right? Trying to, and this guy's playing Super Rugby, and he's like, no, do this, do that, do this, right? And you're playing a different game. So we've got so many Kiwis who've done scale, who've done great things in San Fran here. We've got some great VCs who are pushing. So we need to understand that if these founders are playing a global game, then you need to have a risk profile from a global perspective. So that's one thing, right? Getting the right mentors and advisors around. A lot of people with the best of intentions, but if you haven't seen that actual thing, then it's tricky, right? Some of the advice. So that's one. 2, don't jump on founders. Just don't jump on early stage founders. Like, it's lonely. Just don't, right? Everybody's got a story inside. They're hustling. They might be doing something a bit wrong, but as a country, when an entrepreneur is like trying and doing things that are hard, your extra opinion on that in the public eye doesn't really create much benefit. What you can do, which I really appreciated that the startup community in New Zealand reacted when Jake is, okay, just check in, does this person have good people around them?
Yeah.
Right? And that's important, right? Make sure that you have. But jumping onto something, like, honestly, man, like, we're 5 million people.
Yeah.
We need winners.
Yeah.
Like, so.
Yeah. No, I think it's a really good take. And yeah, just thought I'd bring up that example with Jake Miller, because he was always exceptionally kind to me. And I remember looking up to him as like a 16, 17-year-old, and this young guy living quite a high life on Instagram. And I think at the time I was running a small like social enterprise that I'd done throughout high school, where I'd create t-shirts and sell those t-shirts, and all the profits would be distributed to young parents so they could attend leadership development opportunities. And I remember sending him just like a random email one day. I was like, I would have been like 17, 18. And he replied, he was like, yeah, man, come, let's catch up for
That's
lunch.
awesome.
And he had his co-founder there. He had one of his like business partners. I was like, this is just crazy. You know, there's a individual that's 4 to 5 years older than me, and he's living in Australia, interviewed Sir Richard Branson, and I just thought he was very generous with his time. And I think that's what's so awesome about yourself too, Mahesh, is your ability to give back to others through, and you were telling me before the podcast started that through your work, you give so much pro bono services to different organizations across the country, different startups and organizations who are trying to grapple with their why and their mission and their next steps. So yeah, what pushes you to keep supporting, I guess, this ecosystem around entrepreneurship?
So it's actually really simple. I love this country. Like I love this country so much.
We got it pretty good, don't we?
Yeah,
We've got it
100%,
pretty
man.
good.
Like, it's so good. It's like we are so lucky. Like, New Zealand is a young country which has access to a level of moral conscience because of our youth and, you know, our history. And also amazing resources. Like, we have an amazing story to tell over the next 25, 50, 70, 100 years. And I was so lucky to come in when I was 14 and have all the opportunities I had. Like I said, that first year of rock when, you know, freedom exploded. And even like playing, you know, like in Singapore, you didn't have a second 11.
True.
So I started off in Napier Boys in second 11.
True.
And in my second week, I was the lead actor in my school musical in Napier Boys. Like, things I never would have had the opportunity for. So, yeah. So the thing that keeps me going is I am desperate to see New Zealand even happier and fulfill that story that we have in our heads, and we can. And so it's not, I can make part of the change. And obviously, I ran for the election last year, but it's these founders, it's you, the people who are actually creating value. You're the guys, right? You're the role models for the next group, right? So helping you guys be successful, passing on some of the lessons, yeah, it's awesome.
Do you think we in society like value entrepreneurs enough?
No, I don't think so. You know, the interesting thing is because most people aren't entrepreneurs. Like, they don't know what it's like. I wasn't, right, until I was 30.
Right.
And then you actually have to go do stuff, hire people, fire people, balance sheet, have tough conversations. You're like, holy cow. And I remember maybe the same thing was for you. Initially, you're like, how do you do all of this stuff? And then you do it, and you take the risk, right? You're willing to take a risk, which is huge. And I have to say, New Zealand has a rich history of entrepreneurship. Our farmers, they're entrepreneurs,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Yeah. So we've got that. I think we've kind of lost it a little bit. We just need to, we need to build it up again.
Totally. Yeah, I feel like as well, like post-COVID, I think COVID was a massive wake-up call for everyone, right? Like, to spend 8 to 12 plus months, it seems like such a fever dream even thinking back on it, but where you're locked away, unable to do what you want in terms of like the freedom and the ability you had to just live a normal life and catch up with people and do X, Y, and Z. I feel like I'll be interested to hear your take. Have you experienced a lot more people coming out of COVID and being like, I'm quitting my job, I'm gonna bloody start this business idea that I've always had since I've been 12 or 11, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. You're right, I have. But it's also because of how countries around the world dealt with it financially. Like, countries everywhere just pumped money.
Yeah.
Like, just created money, right? So the market was artificially induced in regards to you can go do stuff. And I actually am concerned a little bit for a lot of the young ones coming out in high school and uni, because like, first of all, they didn't have as much support as possible, but then there seemed like there was a lot of money and value lying around. So it's really confusing. You want a young person, just as I experienced in the GFC, to engage and understand how the world works and how the market works as quickly as possible. Because then once they understand, then they can, okay, thanks for letting me know. I understand it. Oh, I can make the best use of it, right? And I feel COVID kind of suspended a lot of that truth.
True.
And I see a lot of young ones, you're like, oh, you haven't really like got how everything works yet. And if you don't, you're going to get hurt, right? And that concerns me, but I trust generally things kind of work out.
Yeah, totally. And when was the pivotal moment for you to, I guess, enter the realm of politics as well, Mahesh? Like, that is, for someone that works in the fast-moving, fast-paced sort of startup land, to then tailor your efforts to, working across bureaucracy and systems change, a lot more slow-moving. But I'd love to understand, when did the catalyst for that decision start?
So I decided 20 years ago that I was going to come back home and serve the country.
Wow.
And so this is I was going to do this like so long ago. And when I met my wife, I think 12 years ago. Okay, I'm going to get in trouble for that. Yeah, shout out. Yeah, shout out, Pravina. But I told her on our second date, she's Australian, that I was going to come back home and run for parliament, and she didn't believe me, right? She didn't take it for real.
Just another one of your massive crazy ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever.
She's like, you're trying to like, impress me or something, and then years in, like 5-6 years in, I'm like, hey, so probably gonna head back New Zealand soon, and she's like, what are you talking about? And I said, well, I told you on our second date that I'm gonna come back, and fortunately, she's now in New Zealand. So I'm very clear that this was gonna be my path, and it was important for me to have a level of success in the private sector, basically learn some stuff and know some stuff. I don't like going into situations feeling like I don't really understand everything. So now I understand a lot of things, still a lot to learn. So once I got a level of success, I was like, okay, time to go.
And what is that process for the majority of people listening, including myself, who will most likely never have that experience of saying that you want to, stand for a political party and run for parliament? What does that process actually look like? Like, how do you start? So what's the first conversation you have to get yourself onto that path?
Well, great question. The first thing you got to decide is which party you're going to stand up for.
Yeah, it's probably
right?
a good start.
It's a good start, right? So I really took my time, went through the values, went through the history, and it was a little bit of a surprise to some of my friends, but I very easily connected to the values of the National Party. So, okay, great. Okay. Mainly around the fact that the National Party decentralizes and wants to give away power. It wants to trust communities. It wants to trust individuals. It doesn't want to centralize. It wants to give away, but at the same time understands that you need to support to a certain level, right? So that's where I was comfortable with. And then I still remember, man, like walking 3 years ago when I came back home, walking into a National Party event. I didn't know anybody, right? But I'm like, okay, I'm here. I need to learn all this stuff. And I was fortunate. One of my friends from O'Rourke, Cameron Brown, was there, and I was like, "Oh my God, Cam, you're here!" And I was right next to him for the whole like this National Party thing. So you get to know people, you get to understand the party, you get to understand, okay, what's an electorate, how does this work, what's an exec? You understand all the systems. It takes a while, and then the party had a very solid candidate recruitment process. Like you had to go through, you spent like a year through candidate training.
Yeah, what does that look like for? Can you speak on that?
Yeah, no worries. You get obviously the values. What are expectations as an MP? What are the different challenges? You have senior leaders come and talk to you about some of their challenges, expectations. We talk about New Zealand's history, our history, and you're obviously because it's a hardcore job, right? So I think that I don't know, but I assume there's a consistent level of assessment going on, right? And there's like hundreds of people put their name in.
Yeah, true.
So you go through this training program. It's Candidates College is what it's called, and it was done really well, right? Because it's a complicated thing. It was done really well, and then you need to get signed off by the board through multiple interview processes,
right?
And then after that, you need to put your hand up for an electorate, right? And home is Auckland Central for me, so I got through all of that, put my hand up, and then you contest it against a few other people, and that's hectic.
That must be crazy.
Yeah.
And you're up against the beast and the stardom of Chloe Swarbrick,
Yeah.
who's a bit of a celeb up in Auckland.
Yeah.
So, yeah, where do you start with running a campaign, especially, I guess, running a campaign against somebody of such a high profile like Chloe?
It didn't make a difference to me. It's home, right? And I've done everything that's authentic to me, you know. So then I can be quite sure-footed about who I am, you know. So So I mean, I know Queen Street, and I know. I was speaking to a senior party member, a senior MP, and I was saying, hey, you know, home for me is 3 a.m. on K Road. And they didn't quite get it. So, oh yeah, we can do coffee sometime. I was like, no, like that's like Queen Street, K Road, that whole area in the city means the world to me.
True.
So I was going to put my hand up, and then I also, you know, given my startup background, you trust the customer, right? So you just go, you go meet the community and you hang. And I think we did a great job. I was incredibly lucky with an amazing support team, and the party did an amazing job supporting us. But the volunteers, I mean, I had some serious imposter syndrome as I put my hand up, right? Like, who's this guy, this young immigrant, now he's putting his hand up for leadership. Are people going to like, is that okay? You know? And I remember being quite honest about that to some older people.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey man, like we have problems and challenges. I need you to help fix them.
Right.
So get over yourself and get on with things.
Yeah.
And then you just throw yourself, right? I knocked on like close to, I don't know, like 11,000 doors or something.
Far out.
Yeah. And
It's like cold calling.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Go speak to the customer.
Totally.
And I understand Auckland Central, Auckland, New Zealand a lot more. But ways to go.
Yeah, and I can't even imagine how hectic of a time that would be running a campaign, because you'd be working 7 days out of the week for months on end. I've always wondered as well, with the other candidates that you're running against, are you guys like, what's the relationship when the cameras and the screens aren't on? Are you guys cordial? Are you have a good relationship? Do you talk, or is it strictly business?
No, we talk. Yeah, I remember sharing a few jokes with Chloe at the beginning. But I was new to politics, right? And you can, over time, you can see the strain of like baggage, right? Like, you know, because you get pissed off with people, you get pissed off with some other party gets pissed off at what this party's doing. So I can see how that initial sort of idealism starts to wean away.
Yeah.
Because you get hurt, right? And through the campaign, because you don't get to hang with these people. Well, and I can't speak for the Beehive, right? I assume there's an opportunity for camaraderie to form again. But after a while, you're like, okay, I'm not so sure if I agree with what you're doing, and I'm not so sure. So then a little bit of a distance forms. But you respect anybody who puts their hand up.
Totally, 100%.
Right? Yeah, right? Like, good on you, put your hand up. This is how our system works. This is how we grow and get better. Democracy is so important, and you really appreciate it. So I really appreciate that.
And what have you found to be, I guess, some of the synergies within the business and startup realm and the overlap within the public service?
So here's something really interesting. So building a great product is very similar to doing great policy, right? So when I came back home, I did a postgrad in public policy as well, just to warm up to a brand new world. And as they were in like this class, they were taking me through what great policy looks like. And they were like, oh, you have to be data oriented, and you need to speak to the customer, and you scope it to a small little level and test it at a small little level, and then you scale it slowly, and then you look at benchmarks overseas and see why that works. I'm watching going, wait, that's exactly how you build a great product. And I've never seen, great product is still an unknown thing in startup land. How do you build? And I was like, wait, this is like decades, maybe hundreds of years of work that's been put into how do you do great policy. And that's exactly how you build a great product, right? You have the customer at the center of it all, and you test it small, right? You do unscalable things to solve a problem, and you be very outcome driven, right? as opposed to your own ideas and ideology and things like that. So that's actually a very strong correlation. So seeing that made me quite confident about, okay, I get this. I get this. Like slightly different language, slightly different vocabulary, but now I can compare the systems because I've worked in a sphere where building great product and scaling it was critical. Okay, so this is just a different type of product. Like it's a policy product, right? We're supposed to engage customers, deliver ROI, all of this stuff. So.
That's a really interesting point. I think that really gets diluted in the public sector as well. I remember before the job I'm at the moment, I was working in the public sector and just feeling so disconnected from the people who were ultimately there to serve. You know what I mean? Like, you'd be running an intervention from the glory towers of Wellington, you know what I mean? And you just never have real life experiences with the people that would be on the other ends of not just policy, but different interventions and programs. So that was something I really kind of struggled with when I was working in the public sector. And I think what we hear a lot, is that the sort of law on averages doesn't work. Like through different policy settings, the way in which we assume people receive services, we expect it all to be the same. But really, those who are at the receiving end of, an employment benefit or, different government services and interventions, they've got totally different, unique drivers and circumstances and different needs as well. So this almost like bell curve law of averages just does not fit or serve the customer at the end of the day. And that's something I totally get what you're saying is a lot more applicable in the business sense, because you have to have good data on your customer. You have to understand where their pain points are. But that's something which I feel like is missing a lot in government.
Yeah, you're right. The other thing that's a bit challenging in the public sector is in the private sector, you can be a lot clearer about compromises. You can be a lot clearer about priorities, right? No, we're going to do this and this. So you're going to say no to a whole bunch of other things. I think in the public sector, it's harder because government's supposed to make everyone happy, right? Like that's the job. Like that's the idea. But it's funny, during during election, you have those policy websites where you can answer these questions, and then you'll see which party you align with.
Yeah, I know them.
What they don't have is a price tag to the policy, right? Because there's only a certain amount of capital or value. So every time you choose one policy, that means you can't choose something else. And that's the decision, like any entrepreneur, any person right at the top of a government, you have to make that call, right? So I really hope when the next election comes through that these websites,
that feature.
100%, put a dollar figure on roughly how much it's going to cost, put how much cash you have in the bank, the country has in the bank.
True.
It's finite.
It's a good idea, actually. Yeah, true.
And then the whole society gets to make okay, if I make this call, then I can't have that.
Yeah, the different trade-offs.
Yeah, there are trade-offs. 100% there are trade-offs, right? So, which is really tough on politicians, right? It's really tough. But yeah.
And what happens after the election as well? So you put up a really good fight against Chloe. What was the percentage overall?
I can't remember the percent. Yeah, I can't remember the percent, but it was close.
Yeah.
It was really close.
Yeah. What happens after that? Because you put in all of your eggs in one basket to, make Auckland Central. What are the sort of feelings that happen after, and what are the how are you reassessing yourself in the situation?
Yeah, good question. So somewhere, I think about 4/5 of the way into the campaign, I kind of expected that I wasn't going to get in, right? But I was very stoic about it. So when the result happened, I was really fine.
Yep.
I still haven't. I mean, there have been moments of sadness, oh shucks, but broadly, I've been actually really fine because it was an incredible privilege. I learned so much. This is all I've ever wanted to do, right? I just want to serve my country, right? And to have the first stretch of that, be able to do that, my goodness, living my dream, okay, as weird as that sounds. Man, I was exhausted. 220 days, non-stop, 7 days,
Far out.
a spike every day. In startup land, like every 2 weeks, I'm probably got half a day off. This is non-stop.
Crazy.
I'd wake up after the campaign. I'd wake up at 8 a.m. I'd like knock out at 10 a.m. for like days. Like I was just tired. Like my brain was tired. And also I think, we talk about that burnout piece.
Yeah.
Didn't win,
True.
right? If probably won, maybe endorphins would have kicked in straight. Okay, what's next? Let's go. Let's go to the gym. Let's get into shape. We gotta go, right? So then you just kind of sag. And it took me a good month and a half to just like, okay, like get back. I'm fully back now. That was interesting because I was like, wait, am I gonna get back? Like, because the first time I've ever felt this, but I'm fine. My goal is to make New Zealand an even happier place, and I do that now. Right. I've got the founders that I mentor, the portfolio of companies that I have that we've mentored is amazing. I expect like 6 or 7 incredible unicorn businesses to come from it. I've got a fund next to it. I need to raise a bit more money to close out the fund. Need to do that in the next 2 months. And after that, I just want to focus on Auckland Central, the community. There's a whole range of problems and challenges we have. Just got to get cracking.
Tell us a bit more about your relationship and your working with different founders, and also the fund you mentioned as well. That sounds super interesting.
Yeah. We don't give money. Right, like we don't believe that that's what you need as an early stage founder.
Yep.
An early stage founder, you need guidance, you need support, you need community, you need like a place to work out your thesis and how this whole game works. So that's what we did, right? Like I speak to so many of them so often during the week, and I have to start to extract myself a bit because I created Phase 1 to have a large group of these founders pop off, get to a certain level, and then trust that once they've reached a certain level, that the market forces will kick in, that they would know enough, they'd have enough connections, so that then they can be the next Melanie Perkins, that they can be the next, whoever, right? So then they're the role models, right? So that was the goal. I think that chapter's done, but I have to admit, I keep still like going back, are you all right? Is everything okay? I just want to make sure you're hitting, because this is for New Zealand, right? Alongside that, we set up a fund. My flatmate, when I came back home, was like, hey, you're doing all this stuff. You should probably invest into them. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Yes. So we went about like creating a fund.
Yeah.
But we only invest into them when they need money. Right. When they're at a stage where they've got a clear thesis and they have a clear understanding. And so we've raised from GD1, which is one of New Zealand's major investors. We're going to raise another $1 million. Because there's a lot of economic value that we've created, that we've left on the table, and we have a relationship with these founders. Like I've been there with them through thick and thin. That we get the right. Like, I think they will let us invest because like we've done so many things for free.
Yeah, true.
And I have done everything I said. Like I told all of them that I was going to run in 3 years. So whatever I've said, I've followed through on.
Yeah.
Right. So there's trust there.
Yeah.
So, so that's kind of the setup.
That's awesome. And when you invest into a different company, are you tagging that capital towards a certain component to help them launch or scale? Is it really just sort of broad in terms of where they can spend and use that investment?
Oh, yeah. It's up to the founder, man. Like,
okay. It's not like philanthropic funding where it's like, this is tagged towards wages.
No. Like, you got to trust an entrepreneur. Sometimes people try to work out what's the total addressable market, what's the go-to-market strategy, what's this? Who knows? You're early on, you're trying to work out a whole bunch of stuff. The founder has to be customer obsessed, problem obsessed. They've got to have a clear understanding of that. They've got to have a clear vision where they want to get to at the end of the day. And can they showcase a level of grit? Can they showcase a level of like penance to the customer? Okay. That's pretty hard. As it is, right? To do all of that. Okay. Then you got to trust, right? Like, I'm not going to make, I don't know where the market's going to go. I don't know. I have opinions, but they're opinions.
Yeah.
Right?
So much of it is also like luck as well, eh? Like, yes, there's the skill and the timing. But I think when it comes to timing as well, there's also so much luck involved. Like even that book, Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, like if you look at who those exceptional figures in business tycoons are across the world, like Bill Gates had such a head start because he had access to one of the first computers in the world because his mum worked at a university. The Beatles got to, really hone their skill because they were able to play at a club that allowed them to do like over 14 to 20 gigs every single week. So like there's that real, I just think as well, like timing, you could have like the most perfect business idea, and if you were to launch that, like it doesn't work right now, but if you were to launch that 5 years ago or 5 years in the future, then it could really take off.
I think you're right, but I don't frame it from a luck perspective. I put it from a consistency, right? I want to do this. I want to change the world. Okay, I'm working on this. I'm committing fully to this project. It's not working out. Okay, what's next? Let's commit to a whole next thing. A lot of people ask me, you're so lucky you found your passion. And I always say, I didn't find my passion. I chose it. This wasn't some sort of passive thing that happened.
Yeah.
I made an active choice and I failed a lot. And then I learnt, I got up, tried again, didn't get it right, got up, tried again, because I had some sort of end goal in mind. So, okay, get up, let's go. So in the same way, a founder, like sometimes founders tell me, hey, thank you so much. Lucky to have met you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, man, like you knocked on the door. You showed up, right? And if you would have eventually showed up somewhere at someone's door and got the help you wanted if you kept asking, right? So I think if you just keep going, and not everybody can keep going. You need to be you need to understand you need to have an opinion what your limits are and work within those. But when people keep going, I think luck starts to come in.
Totally. Yeah. And you do create your own luck through consistency, which is what you're saying. Conscious of time as well. Well, I've got some quick fire questions, but Mahesh, where can people keep in touch with you and your mahi?
I think on my Instagram.
Yep.
Yeah, Instagram's good. I'm a terrible social media manager, marketer. And also the Phase One Instagram. Hit me up, ask questions. Always keen to help.
Awesome. And we'll chuck some links in the description below, whether you're watching or listening to this episode. Mahesh, what brings you true happiness?
Brings me true happiness. Wow. I tell you what, dancing makes me happy. A really good game of touch.
Nice.
Makes me happy. Just seeing, and when I say dancing, it's actually seeing other people happy, and I just feel good that, okay, I don't have to do anything. Everyone's fine. I think those two ththings.
Nice. I love that. Just keep it simple, eh?
Yeah.
Well, something I forgot to mention, I should have brought this up prior to the rapid fire questions, but it just got me thinking, because you mentioned dancing, but I did read somewhere you won a TV show in New Zealand, which was like the New Zealand
Fear Factor.
Well, we've got to touch on this before we wrap up the podcast. What was that?
So I won Fear Factor like 25 years ago. So you can see it actually. Yeah. You can see these are the third degree burns.
You're joking.
These are the third degree burns that I had from them messing up.
No.
Yeah. I won the show. The last stunt was me walking blindfolded in a straight line with mines to distract me. Won the show. They asked me to retake the final stunt after I'd won the show without blindfolds. I was doing it in a slow way like I'd done it the first time. The guy from the side yelled, "Go faster." So I started going faster. I was right on top of a mine. The guy detonating the mines didn't realize I was going faster. Bang.
Fuck.
My whole upper body just like lit up.
Fuck.
So that's third degree burns to about 12 to 13% of my body.
Oh my God.
Yeah, 12%, yeah.
That's from the shit, man.
That was when I was 23, 22.
Did you sue them? Like, what happens after that?
No, I and this is also why Auckland Central is really important to me.
Yeah.
I always feel the place that kept me safe is Auckland Central. Like, I couldn't go to sleep at 2, 3 a.m., 4 a.m. I'd walk the streets of Queen Street and K Road. I was all by myself. My family wasn't around me. Didn't have, like, my friends had gone overseas. So it was just me in Auckland. No, didn't sue them. I got a 60K payout.
That's good. Is that
Yeah,
from winning the competition?
No, sorry. I got a 30K payout. And then I bought a whole bunch of my mates Robbie Williams tickets. I don't know why.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, I wish I had mentioned that earlier in the podcast. I feel like we could have a whole segment on that. That's incredible. Name who you would most like to have a beer with from both the Greens and Labour.
Wow. Who would I like to look? Darlene in the Greens. She's for Tamaki Makoto. She's pretty cool. I'd have a drink with Chloe. I'd like to chat with her in regards to some philosophical things. Labour. Let me come back to the other one.
Shots fired.
Oh man, no, look, I'll have a drink. I'll totally have a drink.
Who? You got to name someone.
Okay, fine. I think to be honest, I'd like to. I wouldn't mind a drink with Chris Hipkins, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's been through a lot.
Yeah,
he's yeah. And you know what? I watched Kiri Allen recently doing the interview, and it was very open and vulnerable. And she talked so much about her pride in regards to what she was doing, and I really respected some of the things she said. Yeah,
that's great. Nice. I can't wait for the Instagram photo of you having a beer with Chloe. Advice you wish you knew about when you were younger?
Be brave, right? Like, things are gonna be fine. And go dream big. Yeah.
What does legacy mean to you?
I think legacy. That's a great question. Wow. Legacy means to me a world-class education system for New Zealand, like the primo best. That's what legacy means to me.
If you could change one thing in New Zealand, what would this be?
Oh, wow. I wish our economy was pumping. Like, our economy was 50% bigger, right? Because we have all of these dreams and we want to do all of this stuff and have a world-class health system. It's just, we need our economy pumping. So that's one thing. And yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing our journey in regards to our bicultural history.
And finally, what do you believe is the main thing that's holding back young people in New Zealand?
Need to know that there's a big, amazing world out there, and you're part of the world, right? Like, you absolutely are part of that world. There's so many opportunities. India right now is 1.4 billion people, average age of 28, right? That's all our young ones, right? It's exactly the same. You're connected to everybody. So how do you create value? How do you learn about them? How do you get to know them? Everybody's got different stories. Yeah.
I love that. And we'll finish with a quote from Jim Rohn. If you are not willing to risk the usual, you will have to settle for the ordinary. Mahesh, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.